Hello everybody, welcome back to more of the Labyrinth of Grisaia. Here we are. We're in Japan now, doing some training so Yuuji can finally join SIRS. He finished his training in America and went home. Some people were sad to see him go, sadly, but you know, he had to come back. He had to come back and see Asuko. Now we're in a kind of a fight with this other guy. You know, just to see what Yuuji can do. As someone trained in the usage from a very young age, I knew exactly how dangerous blades could be. This other guy has a knife, we do not. They aren't much good outside of their limited range, but unlike the straightforward trajectory of a bullet, a knife can come at you at unpredictable, curving arcs. In close-range combat, it's hard to overstate how threatening that is. On top of which, my opponent's physique was clearly superior to my own. At a glance, he was probably only 2 or 3 years older than me, but when you're young, that can translate to a truly massive difference in physical strength. I'm going to be at a disadvantage if this drags on too long. I immediately turned my body to hide my dominant right arm behind my torso. Indifferent to my bluff, Muto slid his right foot half a step forward in kendo-style shuffle step. His breathing was soft and steady. He sees right through me. Well, that's fine. Still keeping my right arm hidden, I took a single large step towards my opponent. As my foot moved forward, I dug my toes into the ground and kicked the sand directly at Muto's face. However, he'd also anticipated the use of dirty tactics from my end. I followed up with an avalanche movement, falling forward while keeping our faces aligned, but Muto was ready for me. Shielding his left eye from the sand with his free hand, he tightened his ice pick grip on his dagger and stabbed it down in my face. Damn it! The avalanche is all about using perception of distance created by eye contact to close in with deceptive speed. As a result, Muto's dagger came down slightly off target. Its dull blade knocked the cap off my head, dug into my forehead with a solid thunk, and nicked my right ear as it went. A real knife would have cut deeply enough to expose bone, but while cuts to the head do cause copious bleeding, it's rare for them to be fatal. That's no good, Muto-san. You've got to aim for the eyes. Are you holding back because we're training? It's difficult to do things in combat that you've never practiced in training. You're better off trying as many things as possible while you've still got the chance to experiment. I reached out quickly towards Muto's face, my left thumb heading straight for his eye. If he didn't evade this, I could jam my thumb into his eye socket, hook it up to grab his skull and pull him towards me. That would have really hurt. If he wanted to avoid my thumb, he'd have to jerk his chin upward. What's it gonna be, Muto-san? His chin jerked upward. Probably the right call, in terms of avoiding an instant defeat. But what will you do if I pull you? Bringing my right arm out from behind my torso, I wrapped it around Muto's right hand, immobilizing his training dagger. Hurr! Once I had his arm trapped between my elbow and shoulder, I sharply twisted my upper body to reduce the distance between us. Muto's joints groaned audibly as his arm turned in an unnatural direction, and before he could recover, I grabbed his forehead with my left hand, cutting off his line of sight. Startled by his sudden blindness, Muto recklessly thrust out his left hand. He smashed his extended finger with a vicious headbutt, then slammed his knees into his flank, using his momentum against him. As my knee pushed up into Muto's side, the air in his lungs forced its way out of his mouth, and he reached out to grab me once again. But his hand found only air. I'd circled behind my opponent without releasing my grip on his face, throwing him off balance with a sharp kick to the back of his knees. I proceeded to push him down to the ground. Falling while you're blind is terrifying. Your hands reflexively reach out towards the ground. With me riding piggyback, Muto landed heavily on his knees. An instant later, he reached up with his dominant hand to remove my blindfold, but... Hey Muto-san, what happened to your knife? Startled by the words I'd whispered into his ear, Muto groped around blindly for the knife he'd been holding a moment before. By the time that word left his mouth, I was pressing its cold blade against his exposed throat. Sorry about that, Muto-san. Your attitude got on my nerves, so I didn't really go easy on you. I hope your pride wasn't too badly bruised. You don't know when to give up. Want me to cut you a few new holes? Until he asked me out, sir. Ow. You had to kick me in the ass. Nothing at all, sir.
風見ぼさっと見とらんで貴様も200回だ腕立て200回よーい
Well, that's a lot of push-ups. Damn it. I won, didn't I? Why did I have to join them? Of course, I knew logic like that wouldn't get me anywhere. When your commander tells you to do something, you do it. Even if it's 10,000 push-ups. When your commander tells you to eat something, you eat it. Even if it happens to be dog shit.
Hey, 1、2、3どうしたしっかり顎を地面につけろ最初からやり直しはい、
The Japanese instructors always counter with deliberate slowness and set you back to 0 if they didn't approve of your form. In both respects, it was the same way they'd done things in America. On top of that, they developed a few nasty additions of their own, like the "what time is it" trick. Once you got past 100 push-ups or so, the instructor would sometimes ask, "What time is it right now?" to no one in particular. If you're foolish enough to respond, 1400 hours, sir, they'll give you a gracious nod of thanks and resume their count from 14. Ooh, that's nasty. I don't think Instructor Kuwahara held a grudge over what happened with Muto, but it felt like he really had it in for me. I mean, even after I got through my first 2 weeks and joined the sniper squad. On one occasion, a mean-spirited colleague decided to give me trouble by hiding my target in the middle of a long-range precision shooting exercise. I could understand why the other trainees weren't too fond of the cocky brat in their midst, but it wasn't much fun having they underestimate me like this. Focusing my scope on my teammate as he tried to sneak away, I took aim at the target he was carrying and fired 3 quick shots. Every one landed dead center. They told me to hit the target, so that's what I did. Unless you want to wet your pants again, you probably shouldn't get too close to my target. My colleague had been taught a bit of a lesson, and I'd gotten to whisper a few cool guy lines to myself. Seemed like a satisfactory conclusion, but... No, it's my favorite jet guy. Let's see. Bolt of thunder landed directly on my head. Loud enough that I nearly jumped out of my skin. I was given the extremely reasonable punishment of 1,000,000 laps around the grounds. On another occasion, I happened to present a somewhat inaccurate summary of my planned activities during an off day. Then met up with a helicopter pilot who'd offered to tutor me in the art of fine eye control, and headed out for a bit of dynamic vision training at the slots. That probably wasn't too bad in itself, but we ended up winning ourselves a decent war chest, and I let the pilot talk me into a midday celebration at a nearby bar, on the theory that it would be fine as long as we don't get caught. Regrettably, things did not work out that way. Where do you keep popping up from? While the instructor resisted the urge to administer punishment in the middle of town, in front of someone from another squad, he dragged me back to the base by the scruff of my neck, then sentenced me to 100 laps around the grounds and no dinner tonight. Speaking of missed meals, there's another incident that comes to mind. As S trainees, we ate at separate tables in the mess hall, but our meals weren't particularly different from those of the active base personnel, except in terms of quantity. Given our youth and the extreme training we endured on a daily basis, they didn't give us nearly enough to fill our bellies. Hunger is the Rangers' greatest enemy was something of a truism here. And those who couldn't keep up their strength on this inadequate diet ended up failing out of the program. In other words, that no dinner punishment was an extremely serious one for any trainee. One day, a few members of my squad received just such a penalty. That night, rubbing our groaning stomachs, we gathered together for a commiseration session.
腹減ったな。なんか、なんでもいい。誰か食い物持ってないのか？
ガムならあるけど、こんなのじゃ腹の足しにもならないしな。
なあ、風見よ。こういう時アメリカじゃどうしてたんだ？
They didn't starve us as a punishment over there, but when people woke up hungry in the middle of the night, they'd supposedly sneak out and catch fish from the sea.
魚か。魚ね。
It's a good idea.
おい、そういえばさ、A内に池があるよな。
ああ、因数街の空薬器を拾っちまった時に投げ捨てる池な。
あの池にでっかい鯉がいるの知ってるか？
Something tells me we shouldn't dump empty bullet shells and pond with fish, but I don't know.
確かにいるな。って、まさかあれを食うのか？
別に誰かが飼ってるわけでなし、バレやしないって。
ていうか食えるのか？カサビ、お前恋って食ったことあるか？
I've not eaten a koi, but I won't be coy about it. I think people make sashimi out of them. Should be edible enough.
よし、食おう。
It was a tough break for the fish, but by unanimous vote we resolved to put the protein-filled bodies to use in service of the national interest. After catching quite a few, we grilled them brown using some soy sauce we swiped from the mess hall, then messily consigned them to our starving stomachs. General consensus seemed to be they smell like mud, but they taste decent enough. More importantly, our bellies were pleasantly full for the first time in weeks. But just as we were beginning to joke about wanting a little dessert, Instructor Kuwahara arrived on scene with the impeccable timing.
バカ野郎！貴様ら何をしてるか！
Apparently, eating fish from the pond was a step too far. Not only was Kuwahara furious with us, he reported my behavior to Akasaka, earning my unfortunate case officer a dressing down of her own. Later on, the shaggy-headed woman in question will call me in for a highly tedious sermon, but in the short term, my punishment was all-night water duty. Whatever the hell that
い
means.
やしくも、貴様らも隊員ならば、水の大切さは身に染みて分かっていることだろう。負傷流血した戦傷者は、猛烈な喉の渇きを訴えながら死んでいく。水の一杯は血の一杯だ。
We were standing in a row along the corridor of our barracks. Expounding on his somewhat confusing theory, Kuwahara walked slowly down the line, placing a glass of water on each of our heads.
こらえ性のない貴様らに、これより試練を与える。これより朝まで、頭上のコップの水を一滴もこぼすことは許さん。
Ugh, that sounds like a pretty bad punishment.
もし一滴でもこぼせば、さらに厳しい罰直が待ち受けていることを覚悟しろ。レンジャー！
Having concluded his remarks, Instructor Kuwahara promptly returned to his quarters.
なんてこった。これは地味にきついぞ。少しでも動けば水がこぼれちまう。
I mean, can't you just hold it in your hand?
あまり喋らない方がいいぞ。
しかし、朝までこれはさすがにしんどい。
You guys sure taking us seriously. That's Japanese people for you, I guess.
何？
As a matter of fact, I'd once received the exact same punishment in America. It's a test of your ability to think flexibly, more than anything else. I'm gonna go get some shut-eye, guys. With a sidelong glance at my squad mates, all of whom were holding still as statues, I took the glass from my head, gulped down the water without spilling a drop, then headed back to my quarters.
あいつ水飲んじまったぞ。
バカなやつめ。あいつ一人で追加罰直者だ。
I guess refilled in the morning.
いや、待て、これって連帯責任じゃないのか？どうせ罰を受けるなら、さっさと水を諦めて、罰に備えて寝ちまった方が利口なのか？
I guess that makes sense. I mean, you're gonna get punished anyway, right? Why sit there and keep doing what he asks?
バカな。あいつ一人の身勝手のために、俺たち全員がまた罰直を食らうってのか？
ありえるぞ。俺らも飲んじまうか？
やめとけよ。もしあいつが間違ってたらどうする気だ？
貴様ら何をごちゃごちゃくっちゃべっとるか。
レンジャー。
うん。風見はどうした？どこへ行ったか。
風見は自分たちが止める間もなく頭上の水を全部飲み干し、さっさと居室に戻ってしまいました。レンジャー。
なんだと？あの野郎。
I like this guy.
あのバカ野郎が。
何がおかしいのでありますか？
これが笑わずにいられるか。貴様らも笑
That wasn't funny. Have to keep your eyes on that one. Too clever for his own good. Kid's a bit of a flake. These were just a few of the rave reviews I earned from my instructors during my training period in Japan. But among the officers on that base, I do think Kuwahara was keeping a particularly close eye on me. A little later on, when everyone was going out for a nice picnic in the mountains, the two of us ended up having words.
くそ、また缶飯かよ。年度末になると飯がまずくなるのは特殊部隊も一緒なんすかね。
うまいもんが食いたきゃ潜水艦にでも乗れよ。あいつらは俺たちの中じゃ一番いいもん食ってんぞ。
アメリカさんは何食ってんすかね。
見てみろよあいつ。いっつも豆ばっか食ってやがる。
うまそうじゃないですか。
缶詰だぞ。あいつらの本国じゃ豚の餌って呼ばれてるらしい。
貴様らぐちゃぐちゃ喋っとらんでさっさと飯を食わんか。古来より早がけ早飯早ぐそと言ってたな。素早く飯を食うのも能力として評価されるものなのだ。
Oh, I would fail that immensely because I eat horrifically slowly on anything I have.
食える時に食わんやつは
Not by choice.
さっさと食え。レンジャー。そして風見よ、お前はなんて顔して飯を食ってやがる。それが飯を食う時の顔か。まるで砂漠で砂を食ってるみたいな顔じゃないか。
Sorry about that, sir.
まあいい。そんなことよりこの機会に貴様に聞いておきたいことがある。
And what would that be?
おい貴様、なんでこんなとこに来たんだ。
Well, I may be American capital, but I'm still a part of this company. I'm obligated to participate in training. That's why I'm
そういう
here.
ことを言ってるんじゃない。俺が聞きたいのは、なんでアメリカに拾われたんだってそう聞いてんだよ。
And same as you or anyone here, sir. I didn't have anywhere else to go. And I wasn't cut out for any other line of work. I mean, that's all there really is to it. There's no deeper meaning behind why I'm here. There's no amazing story.
お前と一緒にしてほしくはないな。お前はシャバで何かやらかして、それで軍に放り込まれたんだろう。何をやらかした？正直に言え。
I'm sorry, sir, but why do you need to know that?
別にお前に興味があるわけじゃない。ただな、お前の存在を恐怖として受け止めてる奴がいるのも事実だ。お前がぶっ飛ばした武藤ってやつを覚えてるか？
Yes.
あいつは陰でお前のことを殺人鬼だと噂している。もう観光令でどうにかなる問題じゃない。俺は教官としてお前がどんなやつでどう対処すべきか考える義務がある。いいから教えろ。
I killed my father. And my mother.
そうか。
That was all Instructor Kuwahara said in reply. And after that day, he stopped aggressively finding fault with everything I did. Maybe it was out of sympathy, maybe it was out of fear. Either way, it was convenient enough for me. I can't say I missed having an intimidating instructor breathing down my neck.
そんなことがあったんだ。知らなかったわ。もちろん当時の報告書は読んでいたし、桑原兄からの報告を読むと、あなたのこと相当に評価していたように思えるけど。
Well, you remember when I did my musical number? That was a stunning rendition of Cats, if I do say so myself. I did in Gifu when we were field testing the new gear.
なんだっけ？大マカロフ？
Right. After that incident, Instructor Kuwahara started to be a lot more accommodating towards me.
彼、あなたのことをかなり気に入ってたみたいね。教育課程が終了したら、このままうちの特作軍に預けろって何度も申し出てきたわ。
Yeah, I'm aware. I ran into him in the mess hall on my way over here, actually, and he tried to recruit me again. I told him to get bent.
国内外を問わず、治安維持活動以外でも即応可能な最小戦闘単位。それがあなた、はい、9029なのよ。
Oh, you make it all sound all so dramatic, don't you?
ちょっとよそには譲れないほどお金もかけちゃったしね。
Don't worry, I turned him down.
あなた自身が行きたいっていうのなら、時間はかかるけど、転属できないわけじゃないのよ。
That's alright. I'm fine with things as they are. Anyway, if I had accepted Kuwahara-san's invitation back then, who knows what would have happened to Chizuru.
ああ、 まあ確かに。そういう意味ではあなたが SARS を選んだのは正解だったのかもね。
Well, I wasn't a formal member of SIRS at the time. Oh no! The Vancouver International Airport terrorist jacking. Hijacking, not jacking. Ooh, what's gonna happen, guys? We're gonna find out in the next episode of The Labyrinth of Grisaia. Take it easy, guys.